On today's show, we're going to be talking to Dr. Christiane Williams from the CoinTracking crypto gain calculation service, and it's going to be a really interesting show. Please stay tuned and listen to the show. Thank you for joining us for today's show. We're talking here today with Dr. Christiane Williams, and she is the Director of Business Operations at CoinTracking. And we're going to have an interesting discussion about the CoinTracking software product. I think you'll enjoy it. One of the challenging things has been NFTs. Because they're written on a decentralized manner, typically on exchanges, the price associated with the NFT often is not linked to the NFT itself when it's added to the blockchain. What strategies have you taken to improve the ability of the NFT price determination?
So we have, if we're lucky enough and the NFT has been purchased in a trade, then we have the opposing coin as a benchmark of what this NFT should be valuable. Because I know, let's say the Bitcoin that I paid for it have a value in USD, and therefore I would assume that this is the value of my NFT. If we don't have any sort of information about the NFT, let's say I minted an NFT, I paid a little fee for it, but it's my own creation. What is it worth? So I have three options. My first option is I decide, because I minted it myself and it was for free, the cost base should be zero. And then I enter a minting transaction and an additional fee transaction just in case I can deduct this from my taxes one way or another as a fee. That's one thing. Second option is I think the cost of my NFT was what I paid in a fee. So therefore I can change the asset value to the price of the fee that I paid and incorporate the fee into the transaction. Third option is I'm an artist. I've created something. It should have value. Let's say my NFT, all my NFTs are worth 100 euros. So I can put 100 euros in the cost base. And then when I sell my NFT, the delta, so the difference between my cost base and my sale price, is exactly either from cost base zero, from the fee, or from my $100 or euros. And that's what I'm going to get taxed on. Mm-hmm. So it's all flexible again. It depends on what you want, and then you can put it in.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know one of the challenges with pricing, not just with NFTs, just pricing coins. There's new coins coming out all the time. And so what price oracles do you use to determine price for coins that the pricing is not apparent from the exchange?
Well, we source all our prices from either CoinMarketCap, WorldCoin Index, or CoinGecko.
How frequently is your sampling?
Every
hourly?
minute or two.
Oh, very good. What's your approach or what you're thinking about how you handle sidechains?
Well, sidechains are not really very different in a tax view from a normal chain. They're the same coins. They're just on a sidechain. It doesn't matter to me where they are. Sidechain, main chain, the coin is the coin. It has an asset price and a holding period, and that's what we need for taxes.
Very good. How about when people bridge from one blockchain to another?
Right. So there's two different scenarios. You can bridge a coin and the coin stays the same, and then it doesn't matter to us. Again, same play. It's whether I have Cardano on this chain or on that chain, it doesn't matter for taxes. When it goes over, we take a withdrawal from one chain and a deposit to the other chain. The coin stays the same. The asset price stays the same. The holding period stays the same. It's all the same. It's just a different location. It gets a little bit trickier when you bridge into a different coin, which is also possible, or you wrap a coin, which also changes the ticker. And a ticker change in coin tracking is usually something that goes alongside with a trade or a sort of trade. So we have invented a transaction that is called a swap trade. For that, you use a normal trade and you enter swap, the word swap, into the trade group. And this enables the asset base from the first coin to be transferred over to the second coin with the other ticker, and also the holding period. So if I wrap a coin and then sell it as wrapped, it will have the original asset base that I had when I purchased the coin before I wrapped it. So that was something that we had to come up with when it was getting complicated with wrapping, unwrapping, switching. We also use this for when coins are reissued, like for example, sometimes coins are reissued 1 to 1,000. So the coin ticker stays the same, but all of a sudden the amount is different. Or when all the ERC20 coins changed into their main nets. So that was something that you can use.
So that's a good question. I mean, I've had several people just in the last week talk to me about wrapping of coins and whether it's a taxable event. And of course, the challenge is, can you bring along the original cost basis, not lose that original cost basis? And it sounds like you've really found a way to do that in a very smooth manner.
Right. And that swap trade, I should say, is a non-taxable event. So it's the one trade that will not trigger any gains or losses. It will just transfer cost base and holding period to the other coin.
Well, that's very good. That's very good. I know the US regulators have been making it difficult for crypto exchanges to operate in the US. How has that affected your business in any sort of way?
Not really. This is something that the exchanges mainly struggle with. We import them wherever you are located, even if you moved from the US to Puerto Rico because that's better for your taxes, then we still import the same transactions. It has not affected us in any way, but we've seen many exchanges that are moving out, moving on, and sometimes the API changes, but it's really, to us, it's all just data.
We just know that there's been a recent announcement of Bitcoin Ordinals, which is kind of like an NFT on Bitcoin. We have new NFTs, the 1155s, which are hybrid NFTs. There's so much development and change in that space. To what extent have you looked into using AI-based tools to accelerate being able to adjust to these changes?
Well, it's certainly a very interesting area, and we've been looking into it from the support side. The marketing team is kind of oogling it. The developers are thinking about it. But for me personally, because I'm the head of the support team, I recently read an article on Planet Money from NPR, and they were saying that there was a Fortune 500 company that was unnamed, of course, that used a very early version of the Chat GPT for their support. And so they did like a hybrid of their Philippine support, and they had an online chat and then this artificial intelligence. And it turned out that in the end, not only did the customer rating go up, but the support members were also much happier working. So I think that was very interesting. Now, granted, our support is mainly European based, and we're not as much, in this exploitative, high turnover environment simply because you have to understand the software. So we keep people that understand the software for our support. We need them. It's certainly something that I would like to explore. We have a little bot running that answers some questions with FAQ articles, but there's so much room to grow.
Well, that is very interesting about using AI tools on chat, because sometimes, especially with an application that's as diverse as an application as CoinTracking, it's tough to ask a question and then you get thrown, 5 pre-packaged questions. You can pick which one you want to read, and sometimes you feel like you're in a cycle. You can't get to the right language that's being used to describe what it is you need. That would be very helpful.
We're not getting rid of our humans anytime soon.
No, that's very good. So I touched on a variety of topics, Christiane, about where your company is going, headed, and how you're developing the product. Are there some areas about what your product at CoinTracking is doing that you're really excited about that maybe we haven't touched on just yet?
Well, there's a little secret that actually we are expanding into the government sector. Now, hold your horses. what I mean is that there are some European government tax agencies that work with our software to have the data that comes in from their crypto users work into a tax report and check them. And we thought that was very interesting. It's a niche market, but it was so funny to see a government agency asking us whether they could use our software. Now, I want to say that there's no way that we would ever give out data to a government agency. Our company is German. We have one of the strictest privacy laws in the entire world, and we adhere to it. The only way we would ever give out user data is if we were subpoenaed by a German court. We've had some audit requests from the US and from Australia, but we unfortunately had to decline any information about our users from that.
That is actually a very interesting point, because I would say about half the gain calculation companies are US based and the other are non-US based. And, particularly since most people that follow us are US based, some people would say, oh, gee, it's a foreign, company that wouldn't support us right. Maybe I'll just stick with a US firm. And I think on that, I would look at that in two ways. One is, as you so adequately and very completely described, the sophistication by which you use to interpret the transactions, classify them according to US standards with options that people would like to tailor. It's a very powerful tool for US taxpayers. But also the privacy angle is very significant. I defend people in audits before the IRS. We've defended over 40 US taxpayers being audited on their cryptocurrencies. And they do ask for the transaction records, all the transaction records from the services. They want to know what service you use to calculate it. And it's certainly within their capacity to demand information from US services to find out what input data files you use to see if that matched the ones that we provided in the audit. There's a whole slew of things you may not necessarily want to disclose that work product to the IRS. So a non-US gain calculation service like CoinTracking does have an appeal for someone who is concerned about their privacy.
And, the origins of cryptocurrency are with very clandestine people. You can register with CoinTracking just with a username. You don't even have to give your email. You don't have to give any data. You can just do this without giving any information that could be traceable. So, granted, obviously there's the blockchain and you can look up stuff, but the anonymity was one of the main things in the beginning that attracted the long-term crypto users. Now, whether they use us to generate a tax report or not, we don't know, but they can certainly stay anonymous.
Very good. Very interesting. All right. Anything else you want to tell us about your product in terms of the future that you want to attract people to?
Well, we just want to continue riding the wave. We're all waiting for the next big wave, as are, I'm sure, all of your users. And we are ready for anything the future might throw at us, because we have a great team of developers. We have lots of flexibility from the software, and we are all privately also invested. So we are in the news. We're looking at things all over the place, and we try out things. And it's a very dynamic company, and we're just excited where this is going to take us.
As a full disclosure, our company does use CoinTracking. We use several services, but we use primarily CoinTracking for our internal analytics. The reason we do that is often because of the nature of our business in terms of how we're defending people. But my analytics manager told me they've benchmarked CoinTracking against several of the other services, and they did find that they are able to get the work done quicker. So I thought that was an interesting feedback that my crypto analytics manager had provided me. I thought you'd like to know that.
Happy to hear that. Yes.
And I think some people get intimidated by CoinTracking. It's not as new user friendly as some services, but you have a very extensive set of videos and how-tos that if you take the time, you can really learn how to use the tool and really tap the power. And certainly it's a great tool for people to use. We've also benchmarked CoinTracking against about 10 or 11 of the services using the same data. And we were very satisfied that CoinTracking came in right in the middle of where several other packages were. Of course, in the crypto world, consensus is the measure of truth. So, we felt very happy about that. So another compliments to the quality of your product.
Yes, and I do admit that there's a pretty steep learning curve simply because we offer so many choices. However, the support is there to help. Write us a ticket and we can help. And we also have a full service that is taking over cases that are extremely complicated or can upload files for you, can generate a tax report out of very few information because they're very experienced. So we have tools. If you don't understand something, ask me, and very likely I will see that ticket and I might answer it myself.
Well, I should mention you do have the full service if you want to pay somebody to do that, help you do the analysis. You also have a list by country of accounting firms that can help you with preparing your tax return. A lot of people who use the CoinTracking tool and that you recommend. So
Right.
That's out there for people. All right. I'm super excited that we had this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was great. I know I will see you around the CoinTracking sphere, and good luck with your great podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. So thank you, everyone. This is CoinTracking. You can check out their product at CoinTracking.info. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit share, like, and follow.
Welcome to the Clinton Donnelly Show, where we explore how taxation and regulations of cryptocurrencies affect your daily life as an investor. Clinton has a law degree in international financial regulation. He is an enrolled agent and certified as a cryptocurrency anti-financial crime specialist. He has clients in 71 countries. He is one of the top experts in crypto taxation in the US. This show is sponsored by CryptoTaxAudit.com, the income tax experts for US crypto investors. Are you frustrated with using online crypto tax services to calculate capital gains? Are you a high-frequency trader, DeFi, NFT, play-to-earn, or whale investor? Nothing is too complicated for the experts at CryptoTaxAudit.com. Are you frustrated that your accountant doesn't understand crypto taxes? Crypto Tax Audit uses a proven, bulletproof crypto tax return methodology to prepare a tax return that doesn't attract the attention of the IRS. Crypto Tax Audit also offers an exclusive audit defense membership service. It's like car insurance for your tax return. If your return gets selected for an audit of crypto reporting, they will defend you at no additional charge for the entire life of the audit. No one offers anything like audit defense membership. Go to CryptoTaxAudit.com to learn more and schedule a private tax consultation now. The opinions expressed in this show are not legal advice. Tax and regulations are complicated. Your situation is unique, so you should always consult a tax professional.